Hi, my name is Professor Howard Conacoe. Welcome to Antioch University's General Education class, Ecology, Technology, and Society. General Education 3510. I will be your guide for this online course. We'll be together for 7 weeks, and we are going to begin by studying a little of our biological structure and getting at the question of what we are, who we are, and how that informs us, structurally speaking, from our biology. But before I get into it, I wanted to just share some thoughts I have. I don't know if you're new to Antioch, but Antioch has a rich educational tradition that many of us associate with the university value, and that is that we really value critical thought and the whole person, developing the whole person. And so that is what we are going to work to cultivate in you all and you. Critical thinking, creative problem solving skills. We encourage multiple diverse perspectives. We value social justice and explore social issues. The application of abstract knowledge is something we value. Effective communication is something we value. And self-awareness through critical reflection is something we value. So it will be my effort to bring all of those values to this course and enrich your experience with them. Now, beginning with this class, I'm going to be your guide. So I thought I'd shoot a brief video every week just to give you an introduction to the materials that we're using. And so we're going to start this week with a brief taxonomic video that gives you some insight into the science of identifying organisms based on their structure. Turns out we have some common structural components with other organisms on this planet that go back more than 2 billion years. And so it's pretty interesting in a biological technology context that there are working parts with you that came onto the scene 2 billion years ago, and these are still technologies that are robust and working. Your cellular structure, for example. We have many other interesting relationships with other organisms in the natural world that tie us to the natural world. So this is a brief introduction to that. There'll be a brief quiz. You can do it as many times as you want. It's more of an information garnishing tool just to help you explore these ideas a little more thoroughly. If you have questions on any of the terms, feel free to Google or wiki them. You're going to have to actually there are a lot of taxonomic terms about our biological classification. Okay, and the next item on our tour is actually very interesting, although I found the taxonomy very interesting. It is Dr. Steven Pinker's at MIT's work in evolutionary psychology. It's a Books for Lunch event. Actually, I also gave you a 3 or 4 page summary article that he wrote on some of his research. But make sure you watch the video. It's about 2 hours long. You can skip the first 11 minutes of introductions. He talks for about an hour and 15 minutes, and then he takes questions, and it would really be worthwhile to listen to those questions. Very insightful. Talking about some very profound questions, actually. And I'll brief on that later. And then in our taxonomic section, we learned that human beings have a neocortex. A lot of interesting tools that gives us, and some of those tools we see in education. The developmental relationships between motor skills and learning. And so the next stop on our tour is going to be a great Italian, first female Italian physician, Dr. Maria Montessori, and her really cognitive development work in child development. It's fascinating. And so there's a brief introduction of her. I think if any of you are interested in education, you'll find that valuable. I know I do. Next on our tour is a stop, kind of a little more fun, this idea of our biorhythmic connections to the natural world. So there's an article in Psychology Today about whether camping will help your insomnia. I don't know if any of you have ever slept outdoors in a tent, but in my experience, you get the most profound sleep that you will ever get anywhere in that context. And so there's some interesting reasons for that. And so that article is to introduce you to that world. The next stop on our tour is an article in Scientific American, Should Human Beings Eat Meat? Some people view this as, from just an ethical perspective. When I was a vegan for 3 years, that was certainly how it was introduced to me, but I made that decision for health reasons. But there are some very interesting trade-offs in diet and nutrition and human development. Just read the first page of that article. The rest goes into a lot of policy implications about eating meat versus non-meat eaters. But not eating meat affects our metabolism. You need to take B vitamins if you don't eat meat. You have to make sure you're getting all your essential fatty acids, which even people that eat meat aren't always doing very well. And then there's an important component on proteins and amino acids. So it's a very interesting debate. And evolutionarily, there's a lot of evidence that suggests that when human beings started eating meat, it gave them a competitive advantage and may have allowed their brains to grow larger evolutionarily and other things. And so I want you to revisit that or visit it for the first time. And then rounding out our reading assignments is an interactive website from the Smithsonian Museum that looks at human beings' evolutionary history. Play around with that, especially the milestones at the bottom, to get a sense for time and what some of the major archaeological evidence, anthropological